Hello and welcome back to Faith Assembly's Adult Sunday School. We're looking at Lesson 2 of the End Times. I'm Dr. Adam Irwin. I'd like to thank you for joining us. If you need to, go back and take a look at Lesson 1 of our End Times study. That'll give you a little bit of background, some overview, some definitions. Again, our perspective is that of Assembly of God, Pentecostal holiness, that kind of fundamental evangelical understanding of Scripture, thrown in with a good helping of Messianic Judaism, archaeology that finds the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Ante-Nicene Church Fathers, things of that nature. That's the perspective that we're coming from. So let's take a look. Thank you for joining us. Today we look at Daniel 2 and Nebuchadnezzar's statue. You have our overview again. So you know where we are. Again, we're on week 2. By the way, there was a missed opportunity I should have put in last week. Jesus, if you remember, as he was about to be crucified, cried, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you kill the prophets. You stone those who are sent to you. How often I wanted to gather your children, just as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings. But you refused. Look, God is abandoning your house to you, leaving it desolate. For I tell you, from now on you will not see me again until you say, 'Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.'" Now, the first Christians, obviously, were Jews. There have always been Messianic Jews. However, since the 1967 war, the Six-Day War, the number of Jews who believe in Yeshua, or Jesus, his Hebrew name, the number of Messianic Jews has increased exponentially. And in Hebrew, that "blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord" is said Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. So let's take a look at the fulfillment of this prophecy.
Yeshua the Messiah said, "Jerusalem, Jerusalem, I long to gather you as a hen gathers her chicks, but you are not willing. And you will not see me again, Jerusalem, until you say to me, Baruch haba b'shem Adonai." And tonight we stand in the gap in this city proclaiming to him, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." Baruch haba b'shem Adonai. Blessed is he who comes. Baruch haba b'shem Adonai, who comes in the name of the Lord.
Then Adonai said to Abram, "Leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse. And all families on earth will be blessed through you. For I will take you out of the nations and bring you back into your own land. I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. Then the nations will know that I am the Lord, when I show myself holy through you before their very eyes. In that day, I will restore David's fallen tent. I will repair its broken places and build it as it used to be. So arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. Nations will come to your light, and kings to the brightness of your dawn. You will call your walls salvation, and your gates praise. For the Lord will be your everlasting light, and your God will be your glory. For Zion's sake I will not keep silent. For Jerusalem's sake I will not remain quiet, till her righteousness shines out like the dawn, her salvation like a blazing torch. For I am exceedingly zealous for Zion. I am burning with jealousy for her. I will thunder from Jerusalem, and I will roar from Zion.
Right, starting in verse 31, this is Daniel talking to Nebuchadnezzar. Your Majesty had a vision of a statue, very large and exceedingly bright. It stood in front of you, and its appearance was terrifying. The head of the statue was of fine gold, its chest and arms of silver, its trunk and thighs of bronze, its legs of iron, and its feet partly of iron and partly of clay. As you watch, a stone separated itself without any human hand, struck the statue on its feet, made of iron and clay, and broke them into pieces. Then the iron, the clay, the bronze, the silver, and the gold were all broken into pieces, which became like the chaff on a threshing floor in summer. The wind blew them away without a trace, but the stone which had struck the statue grew into a huge mountain that filled the whole earth. This is what you dreamt, and now we will give the king its interpretation. Your Majesty, King of kings, to whom the God of heaven has given the kingdom, the power, the strength, and the glory. So wherever people, wild animals, or birds in the air live, he has handed them over to you and enabled you to rule them all. You are the head of gold. Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon. But after you another kingdom will rise, inferior to you, then a third kingdom of bronze, which will rule the whole world. The fourth kingdom will be as strong as iron. Iron can break anything into pieces, pulverize it, and crushes it. So just as iron can crush anything, this kingdom will break the other kingdoms into pieces and crush them. Finally, you saw the feet and toes made partly of pottery clay and partly of iron. This will be a divided kingdom, yet it will have some of the firmness of iron, since you saw the iron mixed with clay from the ground. Just as the toes of the feet were part iron and part clay, this kingdom will be partly strong and partly brittle. You saw the iron mixed with clay. That means they will submit their alliances by intermarriage, but they won't stick together any more than iron blends with clay. In the days of those kings, the God of heaven will establish a kingdom that will never be destroyed. And that kingdom will not pass into the hands of another people. It will break into pieces and consume all those kingdoms. But it itself will stand forever. Like the stone you saw, which without human hands separated itself from the mountain and broke to pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. The great God has revealed to the king what will come about in the future. This dream is true, and its interpretation is reliable. Alright, so let's take a look at the statue in the dream. The head, obviously, gold, then silver, brass or bronze, and then iron, then clay iron. We just read through Daniel 2. Alright, some background. Hebrews had many ancient writings. We see them throughout the Old Testament. Occasionally you'll see these writings referenced, like, for more information, go see the book of the War of the Kings of Israel, or go see the Annals of the Kings of Judah, or go see the book of Gad, or things like that. Well, one of these ancient writings was the Testament of the Patriarchs. These were testaments, these were books of prophecy written. There was one written by Adam. They were written by folks going all the way down to Moses' brother Aaron, the head of the priests, the start of that priestly line. They were all prophets and wrote testaments. This included Noah. Now, Noah had a dream of metal kingdoms that would control the Hebrews, control the world. And these books were sacred. They were hidden from the Gentiles. They did not want the Gentiles to know about them. Some of these books were hidden. Now, they're mentioned, obviously, in other texts. They were kept in the temple. Noah's dream is mentioned in Noah's own testament. It's mentioned in Ezra's Apocalypse. It's mentioned in Revelation 17, verse 10. Portions of it here are mentioned in Daniel 2. It is referenced in Zechariah 5, and it's in a different form in the book of Gad. Now, the stone, let's see, usually the metal empires of Noah. The stones, or lead, is Nimrod's Babylon. Or that is the empire of Babel. This is the Tower of Babel. Genesis 10 is where Nimrod's mentioned, things of that nature. If you read books of Jasher, Jubilees, some of the Seder, Olam, some of these other ancient texts, they mention Nimrod's Babel. The soft metal, or clay, also with some aluminum, is what it seems to indicate. is Egypt, kind of North Africa, Arabia, that northern Africa area there, Saudi Arabia, that deserty area there. Noah had a dream that these nations would conquer the world, but also especially the Hebrews. Now, of course, there have been empires throughout time that have conquered the world, like the British, the French, Spanish at some point. But because they didn't have direct control over Israel, these nations were not mentioned in Noah's dream. These are having to do specifically with the Hebrew people, with Israel. So Daniel 2 is also seen in a different form in Daniel 7. Nebuchadnezzar saw a statue of gold, of silver, of bronze, of iron, and of iron clay. Other kingdoms, like I said, have come and gone. If they don't affect Israel, we don't care about their status in prophecy. God is concerned with Israel. It's His bride, His timepiece, His people, His nation, His family unit. In Hebrew, nation, land, family, they're all connected. So Daniel knew the prophecies. Daniel stated explicitly to Nebuchadnezzar, "You, Babylon, are the gold head." That's in verse 38. Babylon controlled Judah in 607 BC. In fact, Jeremiah 27, verses 6 through 7 were written about 20 years before Daniel 2's events. It was also known that the gold would succumb to the silver. That was written about in Isaiah 13, Isaiah 44, and Isaiah 45. So Daniel knew the prophecies. In fact, when the hand wrote on the wall, Daniel probably didn't even need to read what it said, because he already knew the 70 years that Jeremiah prophesied is up tonight. 2, Isaiah said that the Persians will be led by this guy Cyrus, and the guys outside of the gates right now are Persians, and the guy leading them, his name's Cyrus. And 3, Jeremiah said that it would be 3 generations of Babylon before the Persians would defeat them. And you're the guy, let's see, there was Nebuchadnezzar, there was Nebuchadnezzar's son, and then there was Belshazzar. So there's 3 generations. It's been 70 years, which is what Jeremiah said. And Isaiah said it's going to be Persians led by a guy named Cyrus. And yep, there they are right there. Yeah, Daniel knew prophecy. He studied prophecy. So he didn't even need to read what the hand had written on the wall to know tonight's the night that this stuff's going down. Silver. The silver arms and chest is the Medo-Persian Empire. This was led by Cyrus, the Persian, and Darius, the Mede. Now, the Persians were stronger than the Medes, just like the silver arms and chest, the right arm would be stronger than the left arm. Less than 70 years later, in Daniel 5, so 537 BC, this came true. The Jews even showed Cyrus his name written in Isaiah 300 years prior to Cyrus coming around. They're like, hey, we've got this scroll of prophecy. It's about 300 years old, and look, here's your name doing exactly what it said you were going to do. Which obviously made Cyrus very interested. Isaiah 44 prophesied that Cyrus would defeat Babylon by draining a river, and that the doors of the city to the river were in fact unlocked. There were these the doors to Babylon were impassable. There were these bronze doors. You know what? Let's just look over at Isaiah 44. Okay, so we're looking in Isaiah 44. This is where it prophesies at verse 28. I say of Cyrus, he is my shepherd, he will do everything I want. He will say of Jerusalem, you will be rebuilt, and of the temple your foundation will be laid. Just before that, verse 26, I confirm my servants' prophecies, I make my messengers' plans succeed. I say of Jerusalem, she will be lived in, the cities of Judah They will be rebuilt. I will restore their ruins. I say to the deep sea, dry up. I will make your streams run dry. I say of Cyrus, he is my shepherd. He will do everything I want. He will save Jerusalem. You will be rebuilt, and of the temple your foundation laid. Chapter 45. Thus says Adonai to Cyrus, his anointed, whose right hand he has grasped. So he subdues nations before him and strips kings of their robes, so that doors are open in front of him, and no gates are barred. I will go ahead of you, leveling the hills, shattering the bronze gates, smashing the iron bars. I will give you treasures hoarded in the dark, secret riches hidden away, so you will know that I, Adonai, calling you by your name, and the God of Israel. It is for my sake, it is for the sake of, excuse me, of Isaac my servant, yes, for Israel my elect, that I call you by your name, and give you a title, although you don't know me. Excuse me. So if you go and look at the histories, some of the histories written by Herodotus, you'll find that when Cyrus was besieging Babylon, he wasn't able to get in. The gates were actually double door gates made of bronze, extremely heavy, extremely hard to get through. There was no way in this city. The people of Babylon were so confident in these defenses that, as you see in Daniel with Belshazzar, they were having a pretty grand party. Well, some Jews who were outside of the city show Cyrus this text where he's in Isaiah 44 and 45. And he's looking, and of course says, I will go ahead of you, leveling hills, shattering the bronze gates, smashing iron bars. I will give you treasures. I will make your streams run dry. Well, it just so happened that on the day that Cyrus read this, one of the main rivers that ran through Babylon had started to run dry and had gone from higher than a man's head to about a man's waist. The water level had dropped, and it revealed some ancient bronze doors with iron bars that had corroded in the water over the decades and centuries of years. They were below water normally. You wouldn't be able to see them, but because the river had dried sufficiently and the water level dropped, you could see these corroded bronze doors and iron bars. And nobody was guarding it because it's supposed to be underwater. And that's the doors that Cyrus and his troops went through. The lowering water level revealed it that was there in fulfillment of verse 27 and verse 2 in Isaiah 44 and 45 respectively. And that's how Cyrus and his men, his army, were able to get into Babylon and defeat Babylon and overthrow Belshazzar and their empire. So, the body of silver, the Medes and the Persians. Now, the bronze belly is Greece. This is seen again in Daniel 5 and named explicitly in Daniel 8. Alexander the Great, who was also prophesied elsewhere in Scripture, and his 4 generals came and captured Israel in 323 BC. Skipping on over to iron. Daniel 11, verse 30. It started as one and then split in 2. 64 BC, Rome ruled Israel. Several hundred years later, they split into Eastern and Western Roman empires. The Eastern, or Byzantine, Roman Empire continued until 1453 AD. And then the Ottoman Turks, who defeated the Byzantines, claimed the title Emperor of Byzantine, or Eastern Roman Emperor, for their own and ruled until, as we saw last week, 1917. The western half of the Roman Empire continued until 476 AD, when it was reconstituted in 800 AD as the Holy Roman Empire, lasted until 1806, and then reconstituted as the Second Reich, because the First Reich was the Holy Roman Empire of the German nation. The Second Roman Empire, the Second Reich, would be from 1817 to 1917, reconstituted as the Third Reich in 1933 to 1945. So some people say, you trace the Romans through the Holy Roman Empire in Germany. Others say the Roman Catholic Church is how it survived Either way, it seems that some of the centralization, the control, the essence of Western Rome continued to this day. It should be interesting, it should be noted that the Chinese called the Turks, or the successors to the Ottoman Empire, because the Ottoman Empire is who defeated the Byzantines in 1453 and took the title Caesar of Rome. The Chinese of that time even called the Turks Romans. Again, Roman Caesars fell in the West in 476, but the Pope continued to physically rule Rome until giving it to Charlemagne in 800, on Christmas Day, 800 AD, as the Holy Roman Emperor. That's the First Reich. The Second Empire, the German Empire is the Second Reich, and their leader was called the Kaiser, or Caesar. That's the German word for Caesar. Just like the Russian rulers called the Tsar. It's the same thing, Caesar. So the Third Reich would be the continuation. They were laying claim to be the continuation of the Holy Roman Empire, which was laying claim to being the continuation of the Western Roman Empire. Now, we move on to the feet and toes of iron and clay. This nation has not happened yet. That's why many say that the Roman Empire is still around, because there's been there's no gap in between the legs and the feet, right? There's no gap between the legs and the feet. Excuse me. But these two branches, East and West Rome, have split and in some ways continued. And there's no space between the legs, which are iron, Rome, and the feet, which are iron and clay, that we are still in the iron era, for lack of a better word. Now, if you look back at Noah's dreams, you'll know that iron is Babel. No, sorry. No, iron is Rome. I'm sorry. Steel is stones. Lead is Babel. I apologize. Iron is Rome in Noah's dream, and clay is Egypt, or northern Arabia, northern Africa, Arabia. So this is referenced in Gad using a different imagery. Rome is iron. Egypt, Arabia, that area is clay. Should be noted, on 14 to 15 of September 2022, it was announced that Chrislam would be the one world religion, with the document on human frailty between the Roman Catholic Church and I don't remember which branch of Islam. It's either Sunni or Shiite. The Abrahamic family house of a Christian church, an Islamic mosque, and a Jewish synagogue was established in Qatar. It's either Qatar or the UAE. I can't remember now off the top of my head. At any rate, now the 10 toes are a reference to the 10 kingdoms seen in Revelation 17:12 through 15. 5 from Roman East and 5 from Roman West. So if you go and look at the constituents of the empire when it fell, you can find about 10 different nations coming out of what used to be Rome today. They're not quite 10. There's still some merging and some changing needs doing, but that is what you'll get. The 10 tribes of the 10 kings of Revelation from those 10 toes. And then we have the stone that rules, that's made without human hands, that destroys the statue, that turns into a mountain, that fills the earth and rules the world. Obviously, that's our Messiah, Jesus. Alright, now I want to throw in some freebies for you. These don't really have a whole lot to do with, these don't have to do with Daniel that much, not Daniel 2 anyway, but just some freebies that should be fun. Ezekiel prophesied the exact day that Israel would return as a nation. Not the first time, not from Babylon, but from the world. Some people think the church replaced Israel. We believe this disproves that. One, Paul talks about Israel not being rejected in Romans. Two, Ezekiel 4 through 6, and Daniel 4. Cyrus frees the Jews on August 3rd, 537 BC. Now, Ezekiel, if you go back and read that passage, lay on his side for 360 days. But Israel did not turn back to God. So God multiplied the punishment by 7. 360 times 7 is 2,520. Now, in the Jewish calendar, their calendar at the time was 360 days per year. So multiply the number there that God had punishment, 2520, times 360 days per year. So 2520 Jewish years by 360 days per Jewish year, you get 907,200 days. Well, from August 3rd, 537 BC, plus 907,200 days is May 14th, 1948 AD, when God ends the punishment and Israel returns to their land from among the nations. Daniel 5 prophesies the exact day that Israel would retake the Temple Mount. Mene, tekel, peres. These are verbs and nouns. Mene is 1,000 gerahs. A tekel is 20 gerahs. And peres is 500 gerahs. That's 20 gerahs. Darius, because remember he was the one who took over the actual control of Babylon there, when he grants control to the Jews of the Temple Mount after the Babylonian captivity. Okay, so the Jews leave Babylon because the Medes and Persians have said, go back home. From the day he granted them control back of the Temple Mount, that was August 25th, 518 BC. Well, 2520 gerahs times 360 days found in the Hebrew calendar is again 907,200 days. So from August 25th, 518 BC, when the Medes and Persians said, you have control of the Temple Mount, Jews. From that time plus that number of days equals June 7th, 1967, the exact day that Israel retook the Temple Mount after the 6-Day War. Coincidence, you could say. Funny math, you could say. I don't know. Your numbers are a little fudgy if you do this and do that. Sure, but it's not a day ahead or a day behind. It's exact to those calendar days. I don't know. Einstein would say there's no coincidences. Alright, let's take a look at Daniel 7. Here we have the beasts. So we got the first beast is a lion with eagle wings. The second beast is a bear with an upraised shoulder and 3 ribs in his mouth. The third beast is a leopard with 4 bird wings and 4 heads. The fourth beast is dreadful, strong, iron teeth, destroys the others. It's 10 horns. 1 little horn came up and 3 horns were pulled up. The little horn had eyes and a mouth. The little horn wars against the holy ones, devours the whole earth, alters the seasons and times. The holy ones lose for time, times, and a half, and then he's destroyed. Okay. What's going on? Alright. Obviously, the first one is Babylon, the first beast. Turn with me to Daniel 7. Daniel 7. Excuse me. Well, this is all of Daniel 7. Oh, and there's some good stuff there. Okay. The first beast would be Babylon, the lion with wings. In fact, you can see that in even their architecture, the Ishtar Gate of Babylon found in Iraq. The second beast, a bear with an upraised shoulder and 3 ribs in his mouth. So those three ribs, the bear is similar to the head, right? The first one, the gold, and the lion, that's Babylon. The silver, or the bear, would be the Medes and the Persians. Notice it's explicitly said that a bear has an upraised shoulder. So just like the right arm, Persia, is stronger than the left arm, the Medes, the bear has an upright shoulder. One is bigger, stronger, taller, the Medes, than the other one, the Persians. Plus, you had three ribs in his mouth. Okay, so Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt all tried to form an alliance against the Medes and Persians, but failed. So you got three ribs in his mouth. The Greek Empire is next. The fast leopard, because Alexander the Great took over the known world extremely fast. He had 4 bird wings and 4 heads. After Alexander died, his empire was split among his 4 generals. The next beast, Rome, has the iron teeth. 10 horns equals 10 toes. The 10 nations in the Antichrist time. That little horn is the Antichrist. He is not part of the kingdoms at first, those 10 kings at first. However, he destroys 3 of those 10 kings. I think 1 horn came up and the 3 horns were pulled up. The horn that had eyes and a mouth, speaking arrogantly and seemed greater than the others. So he pulls up 3 of the others. Now, according to the early church fathers, they actually name those 3 kingdoms. They say Egypt, Sudan, and Libya are those, Cush. They use their Cush, Put, and Mizraim, or Egypt. Oh, yes, the 3 horns that were pulled up are the 3 of the kings of that 10-nation alliance that are fighting the Antichrist and are defeated. Again, Egypt, Sudan, Libya. So here's the comparison between Daniel 2 and Daniel 7. Alright, well, let's jump on over to Daniel 8. We're combining a whole lot here. Daniel 8, this is where Daniel has another vision during Babylon's time. And he sees a ram with 2 horns. The horns were long. One was longer than the other, and the longer one came up later than the other. I saw the ram pushing towards the west, north, and south. No animal could stand against it, nor was there anyone that could rescue from its power, so it did as it pleased and became very strong. I was beginning to understand this when a male goat came from the west, passing over the whole earth without touching the ground. Really, really fast. This goat had a prominent horn between its eyes. It approached the ram with the 2 horns, which I had seen standing in front of the river, and charged it with savage force. I watched as it advanced on the ram, filled with rage against it, and struck the ram, breaking its 2 horns. The ram was powerless to stand against it. It threw the ram to the ground, trampled it down. There was no one that could rescue it from the goat's power. The male goat then became extremely strong, but when it was strong, the big horn was broken, and in its place arose what appeared to be 4 horns in the direction of 4 winds of heaven. Out of one of them came a little horn, which grew extremely big in the directions of south and east, in the direction of the glory. It grew so great that it reached the army of heaven. It hurled some of the army and the stars to the ground and trampled on them. Yes, it even considered itself as great as the prince of the army of heaven. The regular burnt offering was taken away from him, and the place of his sanctuary was thrown down. Through sin, the army was put in its power along with the regular burnt offering. It flung truth on the ground as it acted and prospered. Then I heard a holy one speaking, and another holy one said to the speaker, "How long will the events of the vision last? This vision concerning the regular offering and the transgression, which is so appalling, that allows the sanctuary and the army to be trampled underfoot." The first said to me, 2,300 evenings and mornings, after which the sanctuary will be restored to its rightful state. Then Gabriel explains all of this to Daniel. So we're going to do it real quick. So Daniel 8, we got 2 horns, one of them big, one of them not, on a ram. That ram is in the east. Then a goat with a big horn comes from the west. Okay, well, think on your geography. Persia is in the east. Greece is in the west. The goat, Greece, attacked the ram from the west, defeating it. Yes, remember history, Greece, Macedonians under Alexander the Great defeated the Persians. The goat became strong. Alexander the Great was very strong, but the big horn broke. Alexander the Great died very early, and 4 horns rose up in his place. 4 generals took over Alexander the Great's kingdom after he passed away. 1 horn took away the burnt offerings and the sanctuary. Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who was the descendant of one of those 4 generals, took away, remember the abomination of desolation that we defined last week? Took away the burnt offerings, desecrated the sanctuary. There was 2,300 evenings until the sanctuary was was restored. Gabriel had to explain all this. This is all prophecy in Daniel, and it was fulfilled to the exact day. Which, by the way, if you read any of the Apocrypha or other history, this is when the Maccabees, after 2,300 evenings, so several, how many years is that? 6 years or so? More. After Antiochus Epiphanes desecrated the temple, the Hellenized influence over Jerusalem, over Israel, was thrown off by the Maccabees, which is a family. And they came and reconsecrated the temple, got everything set up. That's what Hanukkah celebrates. There's a whole lot we can go into there in Hanukkah too, pointing to the Messiah. Anyway. So Persia is the big horn, the Medes are the small horn. Greece is under Alexander the Great. Greece defeats the Persians. Alexander ruled much of the world but died early. The kingdom was split amongst 4 generals. It was 5 generals, but the 5th general died about 2 weeks before Alexander did. So only 4 generals. One of generals' 5th great-grandson is Antiochus Epiphanes, who desecrated the temple. So next week we're going to look at Daniel's 70 weeks, found in Daniel's 9, 10, 11, and 12. Thanks for joining us. I know that's a whole lot to cover. Feel free to back up and go over it. Feel free to search other YouTube videos if you need for other viewpoints or for fuller explanations. I'm just kind of trying to keep this to about the length of a Sunday school lesson at Faith Assembly of God. We'll see you next week with Daniel's 70 weeks.